Today on Trucks, we'll help Project Durango Charger exhale by bolting on a complete exhaust system before going inside the cockpit of our SUV to give the dash a little attitude as well. After that, we'll take a look back at some of the best action of the year in the Trucks Y2K review. And finally, it's a custom-built front bumper and winch combination for the Wicked Willys. That's all today on Trucks.
Welcome to this week's show, everybody. We've already taken our '99 Dodge Durango and dropped it 3 inches all the way around. Followed that up with some fresh rubber and wheels, then decided to give a little attitude on the exterior with a shaker hood, grille, as well as ground effects front and rear.
This week we're going to dive under the hood of this thing and see if we can't get it breathing a little better, and that means messing with the exhaust system. Now, you've seen us put on catback systems in the past, but to get the Durango Charger breathing and flowing like it should, we're going to deal with the whole system from the front all the way to the back.
Now, since the only piece we're not going to replace is the catalytic converter, the kit we're going to use from the converter back is Edelbrock's RPM series catback. That includes an intermediate pipe, an over-the-axle pipe, a high-flowing stainless steel muffler, as well as all the clamps and hangers you're going to need to hold it in place.
Forward of the converter, well, that's where we're really going to open things up. We're going to use a set of Edelbrock's tubular headers as well as a corresponding Y-pipe. Now, this is where most of our horsepower increase is going to come from. And the best part about these headers is this little piece of paper that says they're 50 state legal and they won't void your warranty.
Now, we have our Durango up on the lift, but keep in mind, you can do this project in your driveway with a pair of jack stands. First thing we had to do was disconnect the battery. We're also going to get this scoop out of the way so you can see what we're up to under here. Now, if you have a stock application, you will have to remove the filter box that rests right here for easier access to the headers.
Now we're ready to start tearing the stock exhaust system apart. Now, first off is we need to take off this O2 sensor out of the stock Y-pipe. Now be careful with it because you're going to have to reuse this little guy. Now we can unbolt the Y-pipe. Now, for those of you that haven't done any exhaust work, make sure that you're prepared for some surprises. These old bolts will get rusty and break and give you all kinds of problems, even on a system that's only a couple years old like ours is. Make sure you have plenty of penetrating lube to help break those suckers loose.
Now that Stace has the Y-pipe out of the way, we can go ahead and unbolt the stock manifold. Now keep in mind, these things are awkward to get a good grip on, so take your time when you're pulling them out. Also, you may have to remove your plug wires to get them free.
You think those old things were a little restrictive?
I'd say just a little.
Now it's time to put in the new headers. Now, believe it or not, they just slide right into place. Not something usually associated with headers. Now, they're held in place by these header bolts. Now, a neat trick is to wrap these in Teflon tape. That'll keep them from backing out on you or rusting in place.
While Stace is finishing up with the headers under the hood, we can slide the new Y-pipe into place that bolts up directly to the headers and the catalytic converter. Now, we already reinstalled the stock O2 sensor, and once we have the Y-pipe bolted in place, we'll be finished with the front half of the system.
Now, with the front half taken care of, we can start taking apart the rest of the stock system. We cut it off right here behind the catalytic converter. Now, remember some of those surprises we told you about? Well, here they are. Even though these are only a couple years old, we broke off these U-bolts because they were rusty. Also, we had to cut this pipe here to disconnect it from the muffler. Now, this is a good idea anyway, because it makes it a lot easier to get this pipe out that runs over the top of the axle, especially if you're laying on your back in the driveway. All you have to do now is pop it out of the stock rubber mounts.
Once the factory system's completely out of the way, you need to slip the intermediate pipe onto the catalytic converter outlet pipe. After that, you can get the muffler in place. Now, at this point, all you want to do is snug up the clamps so you can adjust everything later on.
Now we're ready for the tailpipe that goes up over the top of the rear axle. Now, this may take you some time and a little bit of friendly persuasion, especially on a lowered vehicle, because as you can see, it gets a little tight up in here. Also, the diameter of the pipe is considerably larger than stock. Now, once you have it in the muffler, all you have to do is mount it back here using these stock rubber mounts.
Now that we have our new system hung, we can tighten everything down. Now you want to start at the front and tighten each clamp, making sure you have plenty of clearance over the top of your pipes and muffler as you work your way back.
Now keep in mind, this system was made for a stock Durango, so the tailpipe exits in a stock location. But if you'll remember right, we put on this bumper cover that has outlets for dual exhaust. So later on, we'll come in here, split this pipe, run another pipe out this direction, so we have dual exhaust sticking out through the cover. But right now, we need to check and make sure this thing doesn't have any leaks. Go ahead and hit it, Mel. Once you're sure you don't have any leaks, shut it off, let it cool down, recheck all your header bolts, and you're done.
Of course, before we can check those bolts, things need to cool down, so this would be a perfect time to take a break. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Later on Trucks, we'll show you how to build a custom bumper for just about any vehicle out there. But up first, we're going to give the dash on the Durango Charger a little attitude.
Welcome back to Trucks, everybody. Now that we have our new exhaust system fully adjusted and bolted down, we're going to turn our attention to the area where we're going to spend most of our time. That's the interior.
You know, one of the hottest upgrades out there is to swap out your stock black face gauges for white ones. The Speed Glow kit we got from APC includes everything you'll need to convert the gauges and really make them pop at the same time. Here you go, man.
All right, thanks. The first thing we need to do is take the dash apart. Now, some are held in place with screws, and some, like the Durango here, just pop right out. Now, one thing is for sure, they're all made out of plastic and they're all really easy to break. So if you're not quite sure, check out a manual. With the dash taken apart, take out the screws that hold the clear plastic lens to the gauges, and then with the key on, make a note of where all the needles are pointing, and then take this special tool that comes with the kit and carefully pry up the needles.
While Stacy's tearing the dash apart, there is one last thing we need to deal with on our Durango, and that's the top. Because of all the work we did on the exterior of this thing, the luggage rack is really starting to stick out like a sore thumb, so we're going to go ahead and lose it.
Now, once you have all the needles removed, take the new gauge face and lay it right over the top of the old gauges. Now, with the ignition on, take your needles and put them back on. Make sure you put them on exactly where they were before. Now we can slide the black trim piece back on, followed by the clear plastic cover.
Don't get the wrong idea here. Just because we smooth the top doesn't mean we're going to leave it that way. We also went to Truck Max and picked up one of their sport wings for the Durango Charger. Now all you have to do to mount it is pop the locator guides into the mounting holes on the wing, then get the wing in place, and once you have it exactly where you want it, you can tape down the guides and pull off the wing. Now all you have to do is drill through the locator guides and you've got the perfect mounting holes for a very hot looking piece.
The final thing we need to do on the gauges is mount the dimmer switch. Now obviously you want to have it in an area where you can get to it, so we're going to put it down on this lower panel to where it's over here by our other light controls. Now mounting the switch is pretty straightforward. All you have to do is drill a hole. All we have left to do now is plug the harness into the gauges, and then we've got two wires to deal with from the harness. One goes to a ground, the other goes to a power source. Now once all your connections are made, just pop your dash back on and give them a try.
Now that our dash is up to speed, this would be a great time to bring you up to speed on the entire buildup of Project Durango Charger. Now it rolled into the truck shop a few months ago as a bone stock SUV.
But once it fell into our hands, well, there's no way we could just leave it stock. So of course the first thing we did was work on the stance by dropping it 3 inches all the way around and putting on some cool wheels and tires. After that, we followed it up with hood, grill, and ground effects package.
And all that brings us to the present with our 99 Durango. Thanks to the complete exhaust system that should give us an extra 20 horse, we think we've built a vehicle that's the best of both worlds. Plenty of attitude as well as solid performance. Stay with us. Trucks will be right back.
Up next, we'll take a look back at some of the best action this year that our cameras caught at truck events all over the country.
Thanks for staying with us, everybody. You know, this past year, we basically crisscrossed the entire United States to bring you some of the hottest truck events out there.
And we had such a great time hunting these stories down for you, we thought it'd be really cool if we showed you the best of what our cameras caught at these events. So what we have coming up next is what we call the Trucks Y2K Review.
This is excellent racing. If you've never been, you have to come out to a Core race. Core puts on the greatest races out here, the most exciting races you'll ever see. You know, this aspect of racing, I feel, has all different kinds of realm of racing. You've got drag racing, which is a starting line right off the start. It's a drag race to the first corner. You get to the first corner, then you're sideways just like sprint car racing with a truck right next to you. Then after that first corner, of course, Core's going to throw in some jumps and bumps. So that's always upsetting the trucks and the chassis and the other vehicles. So there's always excitement no matter where you're looking at on the track.
Jamborees are excellent for everybody. I mean, they got the little kids up to grandpa like me. You know, everybody comes, everybody has a good time to watch crazy people like me out there doing wheelies and watch the monster trucks.
25 years went into this, you know, to go 144 foot 10 inches. That's got to say something right now.
That hard and to carry the wheels as far as it did, it was a rush. I mean, I've never had that feeling before. I've had this truck for 7 years and it has never done what it's done today, especially in the temperature. I thought for sure I was going to run a lot slower and go 11, 17 and not even be a good pass. It's in the tent.
I do it for myself first. It's, you know, my own self-gratification. You know, to feel my truck go as fast as it can. And everybody else is a fringe benefit of my fun.
Hey, wait a minute. That's not a truck. Okay, man, I've seen some crazy things out here, but a Chevette. What possessed you, man?
Why not? That's the best. What else would? There's nothing else like it.
Well, no one's gonna forget.
That's for sure.
What kind of chassis do you have?
It's just a Chevy love truck. All factory, 4-cylinder. Just gotta break the norm.
You're not afraid to get air with it either.
Oh, no. It was built to come out here and beat.
Somebody asked me if this was a lot like driving a barn door, and I said, no, not at all. It's like driving the whole barn.
I wouldn't say you'd be considered your average normal guy getting in a school bus with a jet motor. What kind of a person really does this?
What kind of a person jumps out of a good airplane?
Just for fun, right?
All depends on what winds your clock. I mean, look at bungee jumping. You want to tie a rubber band around your waist and jump off a cliff? I don't.
Talk to us a little bit about the teamwork and how it took both of you to get this done.
You can't do anything out here without a spotter, and you can't do too much without a good machine, so I had both.
Eventually, if the sport keeps growing, you're going to have to see some division. They're going to have to put a limit on the tire size or something, have some division. But then you also have to look at it, if this is the World Championships, then everybody should be able to compete in whatever they want to compete in.
I look at it, it's a different plateau. It's bringing the whole sport to a different level. Maybe down the road they'll separate the two into two different classes.
everything goes right, it puts you in the seat so hard you can't really, you're kind of the car, it's up to the car to do whatever it's going to do because you have no control. The only control you have is lift.
Now what does it feel like when that front end comes apart?
Your first instinct is to lift, but if you lift, you're going to lose. Just going straight and staying.
Well, as the sun sets on an awesome season of truck events, we'd like to say thanks for all the action, and we'll look forward to more of the same next year.
Oh yeah, the door flies open.
Just can't get enough of trucks? Check us out online at truckstv.com.
Welcome back to the shop. Now it's obvious that the Wicked Willys is almost finished. Matter of fact, one of the last things that we need to do before we take it out is put on a new front bumper and winch. Now the problem is, a lot of times a good winch bumper is not even available for an older vehicle. So what are you going to do? Well, it's up to you to make something fit. We're going to show you how to do that.
Fortunately, one thing you do have options on is a winch, and we're going to go with one of the best in the business, Super Winch. This electric 9000S has 100 feet of cable. It's put in motion with a 2-horsepower motor, and that's controlled with a remote switch that has power in and out.
For the bumper, we went to a swap meet and picked up this late model Chevy S10 bumper for 25 bucks. Now, the reason that's going to be so good for us is it's got the same length and radius of our original Willys bumper. Now, you will need to make some frame extensions for it, and these need to be strong. So we're using 1/4 inch C-channel steel, and they'll bolt right up to the original frame holes. Now with the bumper in place, it's time for some measurements. Now it looks like we're going to have to move this bumper back about 9 inches to get it to tuck really nice against the truck. Of course, when we do that, we're going to have to cut off about 3.5 inches here, or this bumper will hit the tires when we push it back. We also need to come in, take a measurement here, because we need to make a block so we can bolt the bumper to the extension. We're going to use a plasma cutter here to cut the extensions and the bumper, but a cut-off wheel or a sawzall will work just as well.
Now obviously we're going to have our bumper as well as some of the trim pieces on the Willys re-chromed, and for that we're going to go to Advanced Plating in Nashville, Tennessee. The thing that's really neat about those guys is all you have to do is ship them your old part, they work their magic, and ship them right back to you.
With the bumper and extensions cut down to where they need to be, here's what we did about those spacers. Took a thick piece of square tubing, cut it down to where it needed to be, and then just welded it back together. Now all we have to do is drill the mounting holes in the spacers and the extensions before bolting everything together. Well, now you can see how nicely all this stuff fits together. And when we take this bumper off and have it re-chromed, we're also going to paint these parts so they don't rust on us. Well, hopefully this gives you an idea on how to custom mount a bumper to almost any kind of vehicle without breaking the bank. Stay with us. Truck Gear's up next.
And now Truck Gear, parts, tools, and equipment for pickups and sport utilities.
Cart the kids around town in your truck or SUV, and it won't be long till you have a major mess on your hands. A dustbuster from Black & Decker can really help clean things up for you though. It comes with special attachments for upholstery as well as tight spots, but the best part is you don't need batteries because it also comes with a charging base. Now we all know that you can't keep messes from happening, but you can keep them from lasting for under 50 bucks with a dustbuster.
For years, one of the neatest upgrades that you could do to a vehicle was putting on a custom steering wheel. Well, that all changed when airbag wheels came out. Now granted, an airbag wheel is a lot more safe, but man, these things are ugly. And Grant decided to do something about it. So they came out with a styling ring made specifically for airbag wheels. Now you can get it in wood grain like ours is, or carbon fiber, And installation is as easy as pulling off the tape and snapping it in place. Now you can have the safety of an airbag, but for about 60 bucks, you can get a little bit of pop to it too from Grant. It's going to do it for truck gear. Here's a look at next week's show.
We're going to turn our stock Chevy pickup truck into a sinister Silverado by bolting on a 6-inch lift kit as well as some new wheels and rubber. After that, we'll take a look at a classic ride from Dodge, the '79 Little Red Express. Then it's time to roll Wicked Willys back into the shop for a complete cooling system upgrade. That's all next week on Trucks.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's show. We appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yeah, we got more trucks to roll at you next week.
You ready to go home, man?
Oh, I'm ready.
Trucks is an RTM production.